All right, hello everybody. This is the Fantasy Sports Boss. Welcome to the Fantasy Sports Boss Fantasy Football Podcast. It is Thursday, August 3rd, and we finally have some actual football tonight. The New York Jets and Cleveland Browns in the Hall of Fame game. The Jets are sending not only Darrelle Revis, but also Joe Flacco to the Hall of Fame. So a big day for them and for the team as a whole. And we're going to see a lot of Zach Wilson tonight. Aaron Rodgers is not going to play. But another day in Jets land where Robert Saleh did nothing but gush about Breece Hall, saying that he, quote, looked really good and things are really looking up for him in a summer of nothing but tumult at the running back position, which we're going to get into. And also, before I just came on, the Seattle Seahawks reported that the rookie from UCLA, Zach Charbonnet, is back at practice. So it looks like his shoulder issue is not a problem, not going to be an issue for him going forward. And that's pretty sizable news because, again, I think that this kid's going to make a push for not only third down duty, but maybe a 50-50 split with Kenneth Walker. For the Seahawks this season, Carroll has done nothing but praise the kid and talk him up and down. And, you don't use a second-round pick on a player unless you plan to use him, and I think that that's what the Seahawks are going to do this season. So I'm going to go through the news of the day like I always do. Also want to check in on the Tampa Bay situation with Chris Godwin and Mike Evans, because it's confusing to me that there are some pundits out there who are actually talking up these two. Now, I know that their prices have come down. Last season we were in this exact scenario with Geno Smith taking over for Seattle for Russell Wilson with Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf. So that's fair. 100% that's fair. You could draw parallels to those two, and I said, I was on record last December saying those who ignored all the negative chatter about Geno Smith coming into the season and drafted Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf anyway were rewarded with some of the best value at the position for 2022 fantasy football. It's just a fact. And we deal with facts here. So, but I don't, you could say you're making the same mistake again. That's fair. But I just don't see how Baker Mayfield, and we've seen multiple stops from this guy, he's been nothing but trash, how he's going to save the fantasy value of Chris Godwin and Mike Evans. But I'm going to get into that a little bit later. Some of the news today. So again, talking about Breece Hall, it looks like he's definitely going to be ready to week one. The fact that they did not sign Dalvin Cook, and I talked about that yesterday. I'm not going to go over it again. But I think you do need to bump Breece Hall up. Coming back from the ACL, a little bit of meniscus damage. He did not have anywhere near the damage that Javonte Williams had, who also looks to be ready, and we'll get to him in a few minutes. But I took a look at some running backs that, coming back from ACL injuries and how they did when they first returned. And you know what? There's some pretty stark evidence that second year is when things really, when they're back at full strength. Now, Adrian Peterson bucked the trend, and so did Jamal Charles a number of years ago. But recent evidence hasn't been kind. I mean, look at Saquon Barkley. All right, so Saquon Barkley, his first year off of an ACL tear, I believe he averaged 3.7 a carry. And then last year was better. I think it was at 4. You have Lamar Miller's career basically retired after his ACL tear. Rashad Penny, 3.1 his first year back, 6.3 his second year back. And talking about his average. Jay Ajayi, torn ACL, retired. Darren Sproles, 3.2 his first year back, then 3.9 his second. Dion Lewis, 4.4 his first year back, 5 when he made his return. But I'm going to correct myself. I thought Jamal Charles had a decent year coming back. He was only 3.3 his first year back, 4.3 his second year back. Now, Adrian Peterson, of course, was the one who did buck this trend. So we have to keep this in mind when it comes to Breece Hall and Javonte Williams. Now, what I will say about Breece Hall, in terms of why I like him so much more than Javonte Williams, there's a number of reasons. The first is that he's got less competition, at least right now. Michael Carter is nothing. He took a huge step back after what was a decent rookie year. there's very little competition for Breece Hall right now. Even if he is brought along slowly the first couple of weeks, there's not a lot of competition in town, barring a move for Dalvin Cook or somebody else. Secondly, he's a better receiver than Javonte Williams. Now, Javonte Williams is no slouch catching the football, but Breece Hall is a better receiver, so that will help prop him up in PPR if the explosion is not back yet running the ball. All right, so he could get away with it more than Javonte Williams can. Not to mention, getting back to the competition aspect, Javonte Williams has to deal with Samaje Perine. And the Broncos brought him in for a reason. Clearly it was for insurance, but Peyton loves him. He's gushed about Perine all offseason. And Perine had a good year filling in for Joe Mixon last year. He is no slouch. So if Peyton reprises his Mark Ingram, Alvin Kamara tandem back in the day with New Orleans, that's what we could be looking at here. And it could work. Both of those guys are fantasy relevant. Kamara was running back 1 in PPR. Ingram was a running back 2. So that could work. But Breece Hall, the third reason too that I like him more is he had less damage. Javonte Williams, Breece Hall had the ACL tear and some meniscus damage. Javonte Williams had an ACL, PCL, and MCL tear. So he has made rapid recovery, no doubt. And Breece Hall is also the faster runner. Williams gets by more in power, breaking tackles. Breece Hall is explosive. So while there is, again, very stark evidence about these guys not being all the way back, Breece Hall has a better chance of supplying a good, solid fantasy season over Javonte Williams. And listen, if I'm in the beginning of round 3 and he's there talking about Breece Hall, I'm taking him. After I take 2 wide receivers to start off. All right, so Elijah Mitchell never met an injury he didn't suffer. He'll miss a few days with an abductor strain. Had groin and MCL issues last year. Par for the course. He just can't stay healthy. He's basically a bigger DeAndre Swift. He cannot stay on the field. He's the running back version of Kadarius Toney. And here's the thing that people are missing too. When Mitchell was healthy with Christian McCaffrey last year, it was like a 60-40 split. McCaffrey had big games, no doubt about it. But Mitchell got a lot of work. He did. So that's why I did a video a couple of weeks ago where I said, in my opinion, Austin Eckler, you can make the case that he's the number 1 running back this year. He does not have any competition. McCaffrey has a capable Elijah Mitchell. They use Mitchell liberally, and Kyle Shanahan likes to rotate his backs. And I've said this a million times. McCaffrey is 27. This team wants to win a Super Bowl, and they think they can. They almost got to the Super Bowl with Brock freaking Purdy. They will not overwork Christian McCaffrey. They know the injury history. All right, so Kyle Shanahan is no dope. He knows the injury history of his running back. He's not going to overwork him. So if Elijah Mitchell is healthy, he's going to get run. And more than you probably think. So if you have that number 1 pick and you're hell set on taking a running back, Austin Eckler, who you could say probably could catch even more passes than McCaffrey, which is hard to say because McCaffrey is so good of a receiver. Eckler has the better upside of the two, in my opinion. All right, Isaiah Pacheco, shoulder, he'll be cleared by August 20th. All right, so he had a shoulder and a hand injury. It looks like he's going to be ready to go. He'll be a firm running back, too, in standard leagues and in PPR leagues. Little high-end running back, too, potentially in standard leagues, low-end in PPR leagues. He just doesn't catch the football, and Jerick McKinnon was brought back for that reason. So, I'm not seeking Pacheco out. I'm not going to own him on any teams. I can tell you that right now because I want guys who catch the football. Ron Rivera spoke up Jacoby Brissett today. He said, don't sleep on him. So this is, alarm bells are going off already with Sam Howell. Is he not playing well in practice? Is he struggling? Brissett was brought in on a sizable contract to be a backup, at least initially. So this is something to watch. Brissett helped Amari Cooper put up decent numbers. Cooper did a better job with Brissett than he did with Deshaun Watson last year. So this is not a death sentence by any means for Terry McLaurin. In fact, it might even be a better thing because we don't know what kind of a passer Sam Howell is. The college numbers were gaudy. And he ran a lot. He's a good athlete. He's a fantasy-friendly potential backup in single quarterback leagues. But Brissett throws a decent ball, and I think he can do, help prop up Terry McLaurin, who really has been cursed. I mean, it's amazing how cursed this guy's been. He's got clear wide receiver one talent. Jahan Dotson as well has real high-end talent. They just don't have the quarterback. This organization's been a mess for years. No surprise. John Harbaugh said he does not know when J.K. Dobbins is going to get back. So, listen, he'll be back by week 1. He's throwing a little bit of a hissy fit about the contract. And it's been a lot of that going around this summer. Whether it's Barkley, Josh Jacobs, Jonathan Taylor. I mean, who knows what's going to happen with that shithole situation over there in Indianapolis. You have Alvin Kamara, who Ian Rappaport said is going to get suspended. He believes he's going to get suspended. He met with the commissioner, talking about Kamara. Rappaport said it could be 2, 4, or 6 games. Now, I don't think it's going to be 6. I said 4, knock it down to 3 on appeal, and that's probably what it's going to be. That's my opinion. I don't have any inside information on that. Zay Flowers, Odell solidifying themselves as the starting wideouts. No surprise there. I do like Rashad Bateman because he has a Deebo Samuel game. Jet sweeps, maybe the occasional handoff, explosive runner, yards after the catch dynamo. I'm in on Zay Flowers as a backup, wide receiver 4 who has upside to be more. The Steelers plan to be very heavy with the run game, so Jaylen Warren and Najee Harris will get a lot of run there. Najee Harris has yet to average 4 yards per carry in the NFL, so he's just not an efficient runner. We know that. Jaylen Warren, much more exciting, has more upside, has more explosion. Major handcuff. So you talk about, and the thing with Harris too, he's been very durable. He's played through injuries. I'll give him that. He is as uninspiring a running back as you can get in the NFL. So, I think that at least for that situation, Harris at least looks like a very solid running back too in all leagues. I lost my train of thought for a second there. All right, so James Cook from The Athletic is working as the number 1 back by far, according to The Athletic's Joe Buscaglia. He should get over half the offensive snaps. Here's the thing, and I've said this a million times about James Cook. He's never been a bell cow back. He's never been a guy who's gotten a high number of carries, even going back to Georgia. This has DeAndre Swift with the Lions written all over it. Not saying injury-wise, but a tandem arrangement with Damian Harris. Damian Harris is going to get the goal line work. Now, I'm not taking anything away from James Cook as a runner. He's explosive. He's got great speed. So, no issue there. None. I just think we got to be a little bit careful. Have to be a little bit careful about how much we're willing to invest on him. And that's the thing. We get all of these glowing summer training camp reports. Oh, so-and-so is in the best shape of his life. He's never looked better. He dedicated his diet to being the optimum athlete, all this nonsense. Don't listen to it. It's all preseason coach speak, all that stuff. So I'm not buying it. Would I own James Cook as a backup running back in PPR? Of course. Running back 3 in PPR? Yes. I'd like to have a better running back 3. I want to get 3 good running backs. That's why I'm planning to do 3 backs, 3 receivers to start the draft. And then I'll go tight end and wide out. Now, if I'm in the middle of that first round, that's the only time I'm still thinking about going Kelce, because I'm not in love with Tyreek Hill and Cooper Kupp. Definitely not Cooper Kupp. I would never take Cooper Kupp, even before the injury. There's a lot of bullets being pointed his way in terms of talking about Cooper Kupp, in terms of his quarterback, just shitty state of the offense in general. The offensive line is a complete comical horror show. So, yeah, I'm not in on him at all. So I'd be more apt to take, because you can't take CeeDee Lamb in the middle of the first round. You can't take A.J. Brown in the middle of the first round. You got to go, Barkley, Bijan Robinson, those wideouts, Tyreek Hill. Because generally it's going to be Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, McCaffrey, and Eckler. Those are your first 4 picks in 90% of the leagues. Unless you get a fan of one of these other guys, somebody's always got to be a wise guy, right? But, yeah, so that's the situation there. Still a lot of chaos at the running back position. And tonight, like I said, we have the Jets and the Browns. I was thinking of doing a fantasy cast. I'm not thinking I'm going to now, because I had a lot of stuff to do today. I got way behind, had a lot of household stuff that needed to be done. Those who know, I'm a teacher, and I'm also a football coach myself. So I've had a lot of stuff to do lately. Fell behind on getting some stuff done in the yard, so I've just been going nonstop today. So the fantasy cast today, I'm not sure I'm going to do. It really is kind of not necessary to do anyway, because there's going to be nobody fantasy-wise playing in this game anyway. So, but I definitely will do a fantasy cast next week. All right, 100%. And week 2 in the preseason is when Javonte Williams is going to play. So I'm interested to see how he looks. So if that game's on TV, I'll definitely do a fantasy cast for that. But I still say we need to tread carefully around him more than Breece Hall, for sure. All right, so the Tampa Bay receiver situation. So I don't know if there's some guys out there in the fantasy football community that are just trying to be wise guys, but there are some that are trying to convince us that Chris Godwin and Mike Evans' value has fallen so far that they're now investable. And while I do agree with this to a point on any player is attractive at a certain cost. The offensive situation is a complete disaster in Tampa Bay. You have a coach who doesn't know what he's doing in Todd Bowles. You have an offensive line that was downright hideous last year. I know they have Tristan Wirfs, but the rest of that line is shaky. You have just truly god-awful quarterback play. And I talked about Geno Smith earlier. I am not going to go on that premise that Baker Mayfield is all of a sudden going to have a out-of-nowhere season like Geno Smith. We've seen him in Carolina. We've seen him in Cleveland. We've seen him with the Rams. I mean, he played all right with the Rams, but he just doesn't. He sucks. He's just god-awful. You can't trust him. Kyle Trask even worse. So I don't want to own any of these guys. And the thing with Chris Godwin, listen, 98 and 104 catches the last 2 years. 8 total touchdowns, though, with Tom Brady throwing the ball. 3 last year. And he really was used as an extension of the running game, Chris Godwin. The Tampa Bay running game was so bad that they would just throw it to him right at the line of scrimmage and ask him to create. 7.2 a catch, which is awful. And also, he's never healthy for a season. 12 games played in 2020, 14 in 2001, 15 last season. Has a torn ACL. Had a hamstring injury last year. Not doing it. Mike Evans, 9 straight seasons of 1,000 yards. One of the greatest stats that nobody talks about in NFL history. Okay, him too. His numbers dove. Went from 13 and 14 receiving touchdowns to only 6 last year. He's starting to deal with soft tissue injuries, as all these receivers who hit the age of 30, as Evans is now, this happens. He looked like he was running slow last year. I just, you don't want to bet against him because he's just proven himself time and time again. But I am not touching either one of these guys. And if it happens again and Mayfield turns into Geno Smith, then salute. I'll come out here in November, December and say I was wrong, but it's not going to happen. I highly doubt that's going to happen. So, not doing it. Now, I've been studying a little bit more the one league that I have the number 2 pick in. It looks like the guy who's number 1 is either going McCaffrey Eckler. He pretty much told me. Now, he could be snuffing me. At this point, then, if it is McCaffrey or Eckler, and he said he's 99% sure he's taking McCaffrey, and he's not one to lie, so I'm going to have to go I wanted to take Jamar Chase so bad this year over Justin Jefferson, and I wasn't alone in that thinking either. But with Burrow, calf injury, his second calf injury, he's had, I'm just nervous. You want that first round pick to have as little threat to his availability as possible, and or as threat to his numbers as possible. And that means Justin Jefferson is the better value. And listen, Justin Jefferson, the touchdown numbers were a little bit unlucky. I mean, he had a ton of end zone looks last year. He just didn't convert. I believe his expected touchdowns was 12, and he scored, 9? So that number is going to come up. And the yardage is insane. The receptions are crazy. So I'm going to go Jefferson. Now, where I'm having trouble is in round 2. I want Jalen Waddle. I love Chris Olave. I was thinking of going those 3 guys, the first 3 picks. But what if Tony Pollard falls to me in round 2? It's going to be tempting. If Breece Hall's there in round 3, it's going to be tempting. I know what I said about running backs. I won't take him in the first round. That's not happening. I want to fill out all these receivers and runners the first couple of rounds. The first 7 rounds, really, or 6 rounds. So I'm going to be tempted by Tony Pollard. I hope he gets taken before I go in the second round. And I'll be pick number 19. I think he will be. I won't take Breece Hall in the second round. So I would go Jalen Waddle. I can pray to the gods that Amon-Ra St. Brown will get to me. I don't think he will. Let me look at the ADPs right now. I would do an absolute cartwheel on a highway if I could get him. I'm just curious what the ADP is now for the wideouts. Let's take a look. Up to the minute, PPR, wide receiver. So Amon-Ra St. Brown right now is 19 overall. Wide receiver 9. He's behind Davante Adams and A.J. Brown. So he's wide receiver 9. He's pick 19, which would be right when I go, because this is a 10-team league. So it's right there. Garrett Wilson, number 21. So Wilson has slipped a little bit. He was going in that second round, but now he's got the ankle injury. There's a lot of talk about the other guys in camp. Jalen Waddle's number 23. I'm not taking T. Higgins. I'm not taking Devontae Smith. Chris Olave is wide receiver 14, number 32. I'm not taking Metcalf. Calvin Ridley is up to number 40 now. So he is right there pushing up on, he's going in the first half of the 4th round. So for me, it would be the end of the 4th round when it came back to me again. I don't know. I do like Amon-Ra St. Brown. And I have said in the past, if I wouldn't take St. Brown, but I would rather have A.J. Brown and CeeDee Lamb, Davante Adams for sure, because I do want Jahmyr Gibbs as well, and maybe David Montgomery late. So I don't want, the Detroit Lions wideout and running back. Listen, but if Amon-Ra St. Brown is there, I have to take him at 19 overall. So he's going 19 right now, which is when I pick in the second round. Is he going to get to me? I think Jefferson, Chase, Kupp, Hill, Diggs, Lamb, Adams, and Brown. I think all those guys are going to go before me. So that's 8 right there. I think Kelsey's going to go before me. That's 9. Running backs. McCaffrey, Eckler, Barkley, Robinson, Chubb will all for sure go. So that's 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Taylor, Henry, Pollard, we don't know. I'm not ready to say that, especially Taylor. Right now, he's going 12th overall, which, that's going to come down the longer he holds out. So, but anyway, that's how I'm viewing it right now. I haven't had my order drawn in the other league. I'll let you guys know what that is, but we'll see. But anyway, All right, guys, so that's it for today. Again, hit that subscribe button if you haven't done so already. Hit the like button, the notification button. More on the way. Tomorrow's Football Friday. There will be a live stream tomorrow. I don't know when, so hit the notification button. I'll let you know. Until then, have a great night, everybody.